lễ gì, lễ bên Phật giáo nó lễ cầu siêu hay là lễ an táng, mời các bạn cùng theo dõi. Đang rước quan tài Đức Giáo Hoàng Francis lên trên trong nhà thờ các bạn, đang làm lễ.
Requiem Mass concludes. As the Requiem Mass concludes for Pope Francis, we transition to this second part of this live broadcast coming to you from St. Peter's Square in Basilica. The coffin of Pope Francis will now be transferred to St. Mary Major Basilica. We thank our guests who's joined us today.
Bây giờ cái quan tài sẽ được di chuyển đến một nơi khác nữa nha các bạn.
And it's been a great joy being with you today, and thank you for having prayed with us, and we will continue with our prayer. Thank you.
Nhà thờ này là nhà thờ Saint Peter Basilica, Thánh Phêrô. Ở bên Vatican đang đổ chuông ha các bạn.
Laudetur Jesus Christus. This is Linda Bordoni coming to you from Vatican Radio, Vatican News Studios, together with Francesca Merlo and Thaddeus Jones. We are here for the second part of this solemn day, solemn moment, following the funeral mass for Pope Francis in St. Peter's Square. We will be accompanying you through our city, through the Eternal City, as Pope Francis's body is carried through the beloved streets of Rome to his final resting place, which is the Papal Basilica of Saint Mary Major, chosen
Và
by
phải đi
himself
qua các
to
con
be
đường La Mã
interred
đến
in
nơi
the
an nghỉ
earth
cuối
in
cùng
a
ha.
simple pastor, in a simple tomb with a simple inscription, Franciscus. So we are here waiting to see the images of Pope Francis's coffin, which will be carried on an open-aired hearse. We still have to see it. As the people of Rome are lining the streets to catch a last
Rất nhiều người dân đang
glimpse
đứng
and to be able
ngoài
to pay
đường để
their
đón xác
last
của mình.
respects to their much beloved bishop.
Thank you, Linda, for that introduction here. And for our television viewers, you can see the square and all the crowds there slowly leaving
Đây là quảng trường
just
ha, quảng
before
trường Vatican.
the square was totally full of people, and all the main avenue there leading into St. Peter's Square, the authorities estimated over 200,000 people were present. 250,000, I correct myself, more and more were arriving as the celebration began, so 250,000, a quarter million people gathered in the square, what the square could hold, and the main avenue, Via della Conciliazione, leading into the square. It's amazing when you look at how these celebrations are handled and how they're able to manage these crowds also on this short notice. And for our viewers and listeners also who've been following this very moving celebration, this solemn Requiem Mass for Pope Francis. Some of you may be tuning in now, and what we're waiting on is the coffin that will be taken from St. Peter's Basilica and then exiting part of Vatican City and then going through the streets of Rome to St. Mary Major, the Papal Basilica, just east and south of the Vatican, about 5 kilometers. And we'll accompany you as that happens.
And that is just to add on to what you were saying there about the flocks of people that filled the square. So we were all here quite early this morning, 6 o'clock, and the faithful had already been flooding the streets waiting to be let in, so to speak, and it was quite a scene when they eventually did open the gates, and all of these pilgrims, all kinds of people, young, elderly, religious, people, Christians, running to try and get front row seats to what was a beautiful mass in the end. And it's a beautiful day in Rome as well, as Linda said. The square was gorgeous, and I can only imagine that the procession through Pope Francis' last trip from St. Peter's Basilica to St. Mary Major, such a beautiful day, he could have been sent off in a nicer way, I'd say.
Yes, I agree. The itinerary chosen is the straightest itinerary between St. Peter's Basilica and St. Mary Major, but it crosses some of Rome's, well, I mean, Rome's all beautiful, but some of the most famous landmarks. So it will be going down Corso Vittorio Emanuele. It will cross the river first and foremost. It will arrive in Piazza Venezia, where the altar of the fallen soldier is. And that also is the beginning of the incredible Via dei Fori Imperiali, where the Roman Forum is. So he will be carried in procession, conclude a funeral procession, through the tombs and through the city of ancient Rome with the statues of Julius Caesar and the temples, and before the Colosseum. He's going to pass in front of the Colosseum, and then he's going to turn onto Via La Bicana and walk up Via Merulana. It's quite a steep uphill with St. John behind him, finally to arrive at St. Mary Major, which hosts, as we all know, the famous icon Salus Populi Romani, the patron saint of Romans, and the Virgin who Pope Francis himself was so beloved. It was his beloved icon.
So not only is he moving to rest by his beloved icon, as you described it, but the way in which he's reaching it, he's passing almost through the three papal basilicas. It's quite a homage, I'd say.
No, you're right. There are 4 papal basilicas. The other one is St. Paul's outside the walls, which is off the route. But yes, you're right. St. Peter's, very close to St. John Lateran, which is the Bishop of Rome's basilica. And finally, St. Mary Major.
Mình sẽ đi ngang qua
And of course, St.
bốn
John
cái nhà
Lateran
thờ
there, the
lớn.
Cathedral of Rome, it's actually the Cathedral Basilica of the Diocese of Rome as well, and all in that area. The images we're seeing here now, many of the diplomatic corps and world leaders would have exited through
Là
that
những nguyên
area
thủ
there,
quốc gia
or
cũng là
are going
đang đứng
to leave from this area, which is Piazza Santa Marta, just behind the basilica there. So we're seeing some of that live as they exit the basilica. And throughout this morning, we've had stunning photography. I think it's definitely a novelty of having some of the drone photography we've seen. Just these stunning images of this very moving and powerful celebration, this wonderful tribute, as well as the basilica itself, the square itself, the images, the particular poignant moments during this the liturgy, the Requiem Mass, have been captured with this stunning photography. And then our television viewers can see as well, this weather is absolutely perfect. It couldn't be a better day, very comfortable temperatures, strong sunshine, and just very light winds. And it's always powerful seeing the coffin in the square and then the pages of the gospel there kind of patiently changing in the wind there. Those are very strong or powerful symbolic
Các bạn
moments
thấy
there.
những người mà đội cái nón mà tròn tròn mà màu vàng trắng, có vẻ khác khác đó. Phải nghĩ những người đó là theo đạo chính thống giáo, tức là thay vì như là tôn giáo La Mã nói tiếng La Mã thì cái chính thống giáo là sẽ dùng tiếng Hy Lạp để truyền giáo.
Yes, we saw Jews, we saw Sikhs, we saw
Các bạn nhớ xưa có Tây La Mã, rồi đó Đông La Mã, Byzantine á.
Indigenous Littlefoot, I think his name.
Little Chief, I think.
From Canada? Yes.
From Canada. We saw many heads of state. We saw, of course, the College of Cardinals almost complete, although I think there are some cardinals who still have to arrive in Rome for this coming week, which will see them gathering in general congregations.
Chính thống giáo là bên Ukraine, nhiều khi người ta là công nhận Nga là người bảo vệ, hay là Thổ Nhĩ Kỳ là người bảo vệ chính thống giáo ở Ukraine.
Conclave, and of course they will be administering to the Holy See as the Sede Vacante tells us. It is a vacancy, and they are governing the Vatican at this time.
Yes, as you mentioned, Linda, too, the interreligious representation was particularly was amazing in terms of the numbers and the various representatives, and paying tribute to Pope Francis, who was wonderful in uniting and in building bridges of friendship.